Hey everyone, my name's Alexa and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing ACE International History Unit 1.4. The big question for this review is why did the USA emerge as a world power and what was the impact on international relations? So, let's get into it. After the Civil War in 1865, the United States followed a policy of isolationism. This meant that the US remained outside of European affairs and avoided involvement in overseas conflicts. Instead, it focused on growing its economy and expanding westward across the North American continent. Although isolated from European powers, the US aggressively pursued continental expansion through war, treaties, and purchases. Key events included the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, the annexation of Texas, which occurred in 1845, the Treaty of Oregon of 1846 between Britain and the USA, and the Mexican War of 1846 to 1848, which resulted in the Treaty of Guadalajara Hidalgo. These events increased U.S. territory significantly. After this, the USA reached the Pacific Ocean and had gained all the territory that made up the contiguous 48 states. This rapid growth was justified by the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that the U.S. had the God-given right to expand across the continent. This belief encouraged Americans to spread democracy, Christianity, and American values. It also contributed to U.S. conflicts with Native Americans and other countries. To encourage Western settlement, the U.S. passed laws such as the Homestead Act of 1862, which gave 160 acres of land to any citizen willing to live and improve it for 5 years. The government also removed Native Americans from their land, and railroad companies received large grants to build railroads that would connect the country. These policies helped increase westward migration and settlement. The U.S. then emerged as a global power after the Spanish-American War in 1898. This war began as a result of the Cuban struggle for independence from Spain. American public support for the war increased after the explosion of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor on February 15, 1898. Though the cause of explosion was unclear, it was blamed on Spain. The U.S. declared war in April of 1898, and the war ended in August of 1898 with a U.S. victory. As a result, the U.S. acquired overseas territories. Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines was now all a part of the United States. The United States also gained temporary control of Cuba. This marked a turning point in U.S. foreign policy from isolationism to imperialism. World War I began in Europe in 1914, but the U.S. stayed neutral, following their policy of isolationism. However, German unrestricted submarine warfare, attacking any ships they believed were aiding the Allies, brought the U.S. closer to war. On May 7, 1915, a German boat sank the British passenger ship Lusitania, killing 1,198 people, including 128 Americans. Americans were outraged. Although President Woodrow Wilson didn't declare war at the time, the USA warned Germany. But by 1917, Germany resumed unrestricted submarine warfare, sinking U.S. merchant ships and breaking diplomatic relations with the United States. Unrestricted submarine warfare by Germany caused increasing damage to the U.S. ships and trade. Germany hoped to cut off supplies with Britain and win the war before the U.S. could get involved. However, the sinking of multiple American ships in early 1917 pushed the U.S. further towards war. The final event that led the U.S. to enter World War I was the Zimmermann telegram. In January 1917, British intelligence intercepted a message from German Foreign Minister Arthur Zimmermann to Mexico. It proposed that if Mexico allied with Germany, it could regain lost territories in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. When the USA learned of this message, public opinion turned sharply against Germany. On April 6, 1917, the U.S. declared war on Germany and entered World War I.